everyone. So today I just want to cover some of the accessories I did in the garage, as well as some of the setup that I did, now that everything is basically the way I want it. First thing is, anybody that does anything automotive related needs a compressor. The main question most people need to ask themselves is how big of a compressor they really need. I don't really need anything huge. I'm not really running any really high demand air tools, so I went with a smaller size compressor. This is Ingersoll Rand's 20-gallon garage made compressor. It's relatively quiet. It's got 100% duty cycle, so you can run it consistently, but it has the capacity to run some lower to moderate demand air tools, and you can run some higher demand stuff if you're not running it constantly. Great little compressor, like I said, not too loud. I have two separate things hooked up to it. I have one nozzle, just what I use to need to blow things off or for smaller stuff, and then I have a reel hooked up to it that I'll show in a minute. But great compressor, and the nicest feature I would say this thing has is it runs off of 120, so you don't have to run a 220 to it or do any sort of extra electrical work like you need to run with higher demand, larger compressors. But obviously the only other downside is you really can't run high demand air tools consistent. But if you're residential purposes, most people really aren't running anything that really eats a lot of air and needs anything big. So I think this is a great solution for what most people will need. So like I said, it's portable, it's not too expensive, it's easy to set up, and it can run at 100% duty cycle, so you can really run the thing quite a bit if need be. Some of the other accessories I put in here, I put two different sets of reels in here. This is the reel I have hooked up for the air compressor. It's 3/8 with a 65-foot hose on it. I have a air nozzle on here for filling tires, so I can go anywhere in the driveway I need to, anywhere in the garage. I can hook up air tools to that. If I want to run two different things, I have two different things that I can run without having to change the nozzles out. And below it, I have another Goodyear air electric reel. It's 40 feet of 12/3, so it's 40 feet. It can fit anywhere in here, anywhere in the garage. It's also got a triple tap on the end of it, so I can run quite a few things. Now I don't have to worry about constantly taking out extension cords and reeling them up. These work real nice. I've already used them quite a few times. They're very convenient, just having them mounted on the wall and not having to constantly roll things up when I'm done and then take them back out when I need them again. As far as how I set up the cabinets and some of the stuff I put on the cabinets, obviously every single garage should have a fire extinguisher. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't have a decent sized fire extinguisher in a garage, because when you need a fire extinguisher, you need it right away, and you don't want to have something small that's not really able to combat, whether it be a smaller car fire or some sort of issue before it becomes a really big issue. Also, paper towel holder with a glove holder helps keep things a little bit cleaner. Always like that paper towels when you need them. Now this cabinet I set up as my sort of automotive cleanings cabinet. So got all my towels and microfibers on the top. With all my heavier duty shop towels. I have all my various cleaners and solvents and all kinds of anything polishes and anything related to basically keeping the car clean. I put on one shelf just so I can see everything. It's easy to read. I know what I have. I don't have to worry about running out to buy something when I already have it. I hung up all my brushes so everything stays nice and dry. My buckets and cleaners on the bottom. I put the vacuum. Basically just keep that out of the way. Since that tends to be the dirtiest, I'll keep that on the bottom, and I put all the nozzles and various connections on the side so they're easy to grab. Depending on how big of a vacuum you need, I think this is really good for most people. This is rigid, and you can pick these up at Home Depot. It is relatively small, but if you're pulling it around the car, you really don't need a big vacuum. And a lot of the bigger ones, the 14, 16 galloners, they're really overkill for residential use. And what's nice about this that most of these vacuums do not do is the head comes off and it doubles as a blower. So if you want to use it as a blower when you're done, say, washing the car, it has a really good CFM, so it's good to push all the water off the car so it dries a lot easier. You don't have to do it manually by hand. And it gets all the things out from the spots you can't reach, like under the mirrors and things like that. So it's very convenient. It's nice and small. You can put it in the car if you need to very easily. It's not overly cumbersome like some of the big ones are. I set this cabinet up as basically my tool cabinet for all the real common tools, your screwdrivers, your wrenches, your Allen keys, your Torx, things like that. Things you're going to be using on a regular basis. I want it to be right here, readily available, ready to go, so I don't have to go running around and looking for stuff. Everything's easy to find, easy to get. So basically just all the common stuff that's going to see regular use. I decided just to put out here because this is the stuff I'm going for every day. And in the back, I'll show you, I put the lesser used tools, more the uncommon stuff. All my Milwaukee electric stuff now that I'm not running too many air tools now. I have one or two, but the electric stuff's gotten really good. I just use a lot of electric stuff now, so I threw all that stuff in one cabinet together. I kept all my solvents and spray cleaners and everything together, organized them real nice. So again, there's nothing worse than in the middle of a project thinking, oh, I need this lubricant or this cleaner or whatnot. And then come to find out after you run out and get it in the middle of a project, you had it because it was, you know, all the way in the back of the cabinet. You didn't see it. So I like to keep everything nice and organized. Everything's easy to see, easy to get to. This cabinet I set up as my automotive maintenance cabinet. It's kind of emptied right now. I'm still getting a few items, still trying to figure out the exact organization of what I want to do and how I want to set it up. On the bottom, I have the hydraulic power unit for my quick jacks. They're in the back. I'll show you them in a minute. Through a thread checker on the side, so if I need to figure out what size bolt nuts I need, whatever, it's easy. I know exactly what I need. I can order it online if need be. This is actually, it's cheap, but it's actually a pretty cool thing. This is a grease gun holder. So everybody knows grease guns leak no matter how old or new they are. So I threw this on magnets and I put this in here, so now when my grease gun kind of drips down, doesn't make a mess of the cabinet, it just sits there and it catches it in there. So a few items still coming in. This I actually built myself. This was actually, I went on the internet, I was looking for a good idea for funnels. Everybody has a ton of funnels. The problem is you put funnels in like a box or something and the oil, when you use them, just leaks out everywhere and it makes a mess. And funnels are always kind of that thing where you need a lot of them, you need different sizes and shapes and whatnot, but there's really no great way to store them without them dripping and making a mess and leaking everywhere. You're constantly cleaning up after them. So I basically just got a basic simple plastic tote, drilled holes in the top of it, and now they all sit here, they're all together. I got all my sizes, I can pick and choose what size I need, and on the inside of it I put some absorbent pads, so now they don't make a mess, they don't leak. I don't open the cabin, there's oil dripping on top of everything else. So it's a little on the big side, it does take up some space, but if you are not really pressed for space like me, it's something nice just to kind of have there without making a mess, and it's a nice solution. And I actually ended up ordering another cabinet. This little thin one did not come, but I had some extra space, so I'm like, you know what, why not? I got plenty of room. This is like my oil and fluids and cabinets. I'll keep all my extra filters and things like that in there. I hung up my oil filter wrenches on the side. So this is all about being organized. I can see what I have. I know exactly where everything is. I don't have to go digging for anything. So yeah, so it's nice to be organized and have everything conveniently available. And if you aren't sure if you have something, I can open it up right away, check, all right, I need to get that next time I go to the store. Mounted my creeper on the side, so whenever I need that, it's ready to go. All right, in the back, this is kind of my back room where I have my lesser used items, things that aren't used on a daily basis, but nevertheless, I want to have them close by because I will need them. This tool cabinet has all the lesser used stuff in it, more of the stuff that kind of doesn't see a ton of action, electrical testers and all kinds of torque wrenches and pullers and really, really big ratchets and bearing pullers and bearing, you know, all stuff that's not going to see a lot of action. That's the stuff that when you need it, you need it. So all kinds of just really interesting stuff that you need to have, but it doesn't come out on that much of a regular basis. So just a good tool cabinet to have in the back. It's out of the way. Like I said here, my quick jacks, I still have to mount these to the wall. I just got to get a couple of mounts and get them so they hang on the wall so they're totally out of the way. I'll do some videos down the road when I'm doing maintenance. I'm waiting to get some different blocks for my car so it sits on the pinch welds nicely. I did some testing with them so far. I really like these things, even though I haven't put my car on them yet. I did some testing with them. They're nice. I mean, this is a great solution to someone who doesn't want to get into a lift or doesn't have the room for a lift. It picks the cars up something like 21 inches, I want to say, somewhere, and that it gets the cars high off the ground. If you see some of the testing videos they did some rigorous testing on these things because some people criticize them that they don't think they're strong enough or they're not safe, but they've done some pretty crazy destructive testing with these things, and they've successfully held like 4 times the amount of weight that they're rated for. So real convenient. I don't have to worry about bolting the lift down, running hydraulic lines and running higher voltage stuff, and they're not permanent. That's a nice thing. I can use them, I put them away, they're done, I hang them up till I need to use them the next time. So real great, real convenient, not too expensive. It's not committed to the ground like a regular lift would be, and they're portable. You can throw them in a pickup truck or an SUV and take them wherever you need to go. Use them outside, and they run off of 120, so you don't have to do any special plumbing, electrical wise for them. They can just run off a regular, a heavier duty extension cord, and you can run them wherever. Obviously, having floor jacks is important. I always like to have at least 2 floor jacks. These are Daytonas. These are sold by Harbor Freight. Now, Harbor Freight for a long time had a reputation of selling real cheap, junky stuff. But if you watch a lot of tool reviews in the last few years, they've really gotten serious with a lot of their tools. And their Daytona jacks have gotten really stellar reviews. This is their commercial series. They actually got sued by Harbor Freight for some of their design by Snap-on. Harbor Freight got sued by Snap-on for some of their designs because they were so close to the Snap-on style. But they are allowed to sell them. So it's real heavy duty. This is their long reach, low profile, so it's longer than the normal and it's lower. So if I get more sports cars, if they got frame rails on the inside, it'll fit under that. If I end up getting a pickup truck, it's got a nice long lift, so it'll get under that and be able to pick the truck up as well. So I like these. A little more expensive, but it kind of fits everything, whether it's low profile, it's tall vehicles, everything. This will pretty much fit any car. I have a nice little pedal on the back, so there's a lot of adjustability. These things are real heavy duty, and I like them so far. And I always like to have 2, just in case, depending on how I need to lift the car or whatnot. It's just always convenient to have more than 2 jacks. And then this little guy I just use for my lawnmower to pick them up. And probably the final sort of unique thing that I have is this cart that I kind of built up. This started life as Gladiator's 3-foot mobile work cart. This is a super heavy duty cart. The top is 2 feet by 3 feet, and it's rated to hold almost 700 pounds. This thing is super heavy duty. It is really, really heavy when you get it out of the box, put it together. But it's really well built. The casters are super, super strong, super tough. They all got brakes on them. This thing's rated to hold a ton of weight. Now, the modifications I did to this thing is I drilled holes in the top and I countersunk these bolts. And then I put this 2-inch receiver on the bottom. So the idea is, if I just need to use this as a flat top for basically anything, I can use it as a flat top. The bolts aren't in the way. But now, if I want to use my vise or my grinder, I didn't want to have them bolted to something permanent like a workbench where they're always kind of in the way, especially if I'm not using them a lot. I don't want them just kind of sitting out where I'm always bumping into them. So I put that receiver on the bottom, and then I got the matching 2-inch receivers for here, and they have just standard basically plates on them, and I just drilled holes in them, bolted them down, and then I put these 2x4s on the sides, and now they sit comfortably on this shelf. They're both out of the way when I don't need them, and when I do need them, I just pull them right out and put them in the receiver. And now I can, if I want to do something really dirty, I want to do like metal work or anything like that, or I don't really want to do in the garage because I don't want sparks flying around, I don't want to make a mess in here, I just roll it out into the driveway or outside anywhere. I can do that. I can run the extension cord out or run my 12.3 off my reel outside and do any sort of work out there, and then roll it back inside. And then if I don't need to use these or I need the flat tabletop, I can just put these guys back on the bottom and they're out of the way. And the cart's nice and heavy where I can hang either one of these things off the side, and doesn't feel like it's going to tilt or fall over. It's really nice and heavy duty. It's really, really tough cart. It's not flimsy at all. So this is, I'm really glad I built this thing up. It ended up working out very, very well. So this is basically just a setup I have for the garage now. Like I said, all the lesser use stuff is in the back now that I don't use on a regular basis, and all the stuff that I will use more regularly, I decided just to kind of put up front. So it's ready to go. It's easy to have and grab when I need to. And just sort of makes life easier here because I've always wanted to have a nice garage setup that just was very convenient and just had a really, really nice modern look to it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.